Welcome back, everybody. It's the Betting Pros College Football Preview Show. I'm your host, Scott Bogman. Follow me on the Twitter at Bogman Sports. And look at this. The band is back together. Finally, from the beginning of the season, we had some schedule interruptions, but the three of us are back together. Thor, you can follow at Thor KU, and Mike Farrell at M Farrell Sports, 2 R's, 2 L's. And we are here to talk about Week 11 already, Thor. I mean, Week 11 seems like an impossibility, but here it is. But before we jump into Week 11, go back to Week 10 and tell me what you saw from Week 10 and what caught your eye and what interested you.
It was one of the funner Saturdays, I think, of college football so far. You know, earlier on, it was fun, but the night games in particular were just awesome. The entertaining games, the shootouts there at the end. I had some buddies over. We were watching the side-by-side screens with Washington USC on one of them. We had Alabama LSU on another one. I think we had Kansas Iowa State on the other. The Kansas Iowa State game turned out to be the close one up until the very end when Jaden Daniels got injured for LSU. We'll return to that. We promise you when we bring up the LSU game, but a very entertaining evening, with all the points scored and the close games, stuff like that. Looking forward to another fun weekend of college football here because we have a lot of great matchups this weekend.
Yeah, it was tough to narrow it down to 10 games for this show here. Farrell, when you look back at Week 11, what stood out to you, or Week 10, what stood out the most?
Obviously the Washington USC game was a really good one. Alex Grinch getting fired after that game, rightfully so.
Finally.
It's been a long time coming. Caleb Williams crying in the stands was a little polarizing. Not sure how NFL teams are going to feel about that. Texas, Kansas State, I mean, that one was a tough one. Texas was up 17-0, and it looked like there was going to be a blowout, and Kansas State comes back, gets a late cover. I had a hunch on two things, just hunches that went against everything, and I was 1 for 1. Dabo Swinney and Clemson, covering and actually winning outright against Notre Dame was a hunch. Tyler from Spartanburg was a plant. Dabo got everybody riled up, and they played very well. And then I had the under in LSU Alabama. Didn't work out that well. I just had a feeling it was going to be a lower scoring game, but I mean, there's just no stopping. There's no stopping Jalen Milroe when he wants to run, and you don't spy him. So just LSU's head scratching defense over and over again just puzzles me.
Yeah, it was definitely an exciting week. Like I said, I needed excitement, not at all after watching my team lose the World Series, but they gave it to me. But Texas pulled it out and lowered my blood pressure after that. But before we dive in here, college football fans, are you ready to put your betting skills to the test? Join the Betting Pros College Football Podcast betting group. Make your picks all season long. And if you're among the top ROI performers, you could win big. Prizes include a signed Garrett Wilson Ohio State jersey and premium subscriptions to Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros. Just make at least 100 picks throughout the season to qualify. Jump in now at bettingpros.com/college or in the Betting Pros app under the College Football Podcast group. May the best better win. All right, gentlemen, let's step into Week 11 and start with a big one. Number 3, Michigan is a 4.5-point road favorite at number 11, Penn State. 44 is the total on this one. Money is heavy on the Michigan side, heavy on the over in this game. Thor, when we saw Penn State face a tough opponent in Ohio State, we watched them wilt like a flower in the desert. So didn't seem good there. Is there any chance that they can pull together at home? It is a home game against Michigan. Michigan is very distracted in the background also. Can Penn State pull this game off, or is this just Michigan keep on rolling here?
For sure, they have a puncher's chance because of their defense, and especially this game being at home. The value, so it coming down to 4.5. We had talked about this one on the Sunday show. Froton and I think it opened 5.5. My line was Michigan minus 3.6. We dropped now to the 4.5. It'll be interesting if this thing, as we go in the week, get closer to kickoff, if it comes down to what my number is. The thing to keep an eye on, though, it talked about this, the health status on Penn State. It was really funny. Probably 20 minutes, 15 minutes before we got on, I got a text message from a sharp bettor out there. And he asked, he said, "You heard anything about Chop Robinson?" I have not. That's a status that we're going to have to monitor the status of Chop Robinson leading up to this game. Didn't play in the last one. There's a lot of people out there that want to know if Chop Robinson's going to play in this game. A lot of people on the Michigan sideline want to know if Chop Robinson, on both sidelines, want to know if Chop Robinson's going to play in this game.
There's only a signal to steal about it.
Yeah, definitely. And Penn State has their receiving core already thin, is banged up as well. Both these teams have the elite defenses. Penn State, they lack the explosion on offense. We know that, so that's going to be the problematic thing for them. But if Chop Robinson is back and then you're at home, can you suppress the scoring of Michigan's offense enough when you're getting the 4.5 points or whatever? I would lean Penn State at this point in the week. But again, I said this on Sunday, and I mean it. I want to know if Chop Robinson's playing in this game or not for Penn State before I will bet on Penn State.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a good line to take. Obviously, questionable here. Mr. Farrell, how do you see the Michigan and Penn State game playing out here?
Yeah, I don't care if he plays or not. I got Michigan big in this one. We got a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, I don't know if you've heard at Michigan, there's a little bit of scandal, a little bit of drama over there.
News.
But
yeah,
this is a extremely talented football team. I've been waiting for them to play somebody with a pulse for a very long time. We're going to actually get to see it. There are very few discernible weaknesses on the Michigan roster, and now you've got them angry, and you've got them fired up. They know they can't lose now. They lose, it's going to be say, oh, it's because you didn't have the signals of Penn State, blah, blah, blah. And Penn State can lose to a ranked team because that's all they do consistently under James Franklin. No offense to him. I like him. He's a nice person. But he can't beat top 5 teams. He can't beat top 10 teams. This is at home. I get it. If it was a whiteout at night, maybe that would be a consideration for me. But I'm laying the 4.5 here. Chop Robinson is a great player. He's going to provide a pass rush, obviously, for Penn State if he plays. I don't think it's going to be a big difference. Their offensive line is good. Donovan Edwards is eventually going to break out. Blake Corum is very steady. J.J. McCarthy is improving with his accuracy, and that defense is nasty. So give me Michigan in this one. I don't really care about Chop Robinson.
All right, Mr. Farrell, let's go over to number 8, Alabama at Kentucky. Alabama is a 10.5 point road favorite. 47.5 is the total here. I don't know how serious it is. I saw Dennis Leary is questionable with an eye injury in this game.
Or Devin.
What did I say? Did I say Dennis Leary? Oh my God.
I was going to let you go with Dennis.
He's hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean,
look, guys, I've been traveling a little bit. My bad. Dennis Leary, Devin Leary.
Shout out to Dennis Leary.
Look, quarterback, fireman, either way. He's questionable with an eye injury in this game. The money is on Kentucky, both ways and tickets. The total here, Mike, is it's on the over for tickets, on the under for cash. So a little undecided on that. So, Mike, how do you see this game playing out? Alabama at Kentucky.
I'm going to take Kentucky. It's too big a line. I like Alabama. I like the way they've been playing. I had them against LSU. I've actually had them quite a few games since the USF game. I had them against USF, and they disappointed greatly. But they've been doing a solid job. They're getting better. Milroe's a downfield passer, and he's a runner. Intermediate, he's getting a little bit improved. He's seeing the field a little bit better. Running game's coming around. Offensive line still not great, but good enough. And that defense is solid. But that being said, Kentucky is at home. They've got a solid rushing attack. Their defense is very underrated. They usually keep them in games. I don't care if Dennis Leary or Devin Leary plays. I do. I mean, I'm just kidding. Devin Leary is important, but he hasn't had a good season. And they've been having some success despite his struggles. So I just think 10.5 is too much. I like Alabama to win this football game. But 10.5 is just a lot at Kentucky. So give me Kentucky to cover that number.
Thor, what do you think? Are you on Kentucky at home or under Dennis Leary, of course? Or do you like the Bama side like Mike?
Thor hates Alabama.
I do hate it. Well, not anymore. They made me a lot of money on Saturday, both with the over and then laying the 3 with
you
Bama.
Took the under for the wins total, and it's still burning, I can tell.
Oh, yeah. If that thing ends up not getting there after they lost to Texas, the 10.5, that would be kind of crazy. We'll see. Kentucky, they could be live-ish here, but they're going to need Leary playing, and they're going to need Leary playing really well. Kentucky got healthy in recent weeks. That was the issue during their skid. They were all kinds of banged up. Leary, but in addition, the offensive line, they had some skill position injuries. Well, they've gotten a lot healthier. They played their FCS opponent last week that all the SEC teams do. Oh, oops, sorry, that was Mississippi State. Close enough. But Kentucky heads into this one where they've turned it around a little bit because of the health getting back. And then Alabama off the really big win. Now you go on the road to play this team that loves to play in the rock fights. They're going to slow it down. You're on their home field. And Kentucky, their defense profiles the way that you want when you're picking a team playing Alabama. Kentucky's defense really good at stopping the run, taking away the explosive passes. The teams that are really that move the ball efficiently on Kentucky, where you can kill Kentucky, it's with efficiency in the passing game. They give a whole bunch of completions in the intermediate area, whatever. It's the worst part of Alabama's offense, right? They just don't do that because Milrow's not accurate. It's just not a big tenet of it or whatever. I would lean towards taking the points with Kentucky, but I do want to see the status of Mr. Leary and whatnot.
All right, let's go to Texas Tech at number 21, Kansas. Your Jayhawks, Thor. The Jayhawks are favored by 3.5 at home. 60.5 is the total here. Tickets slightly on the Texas Tech side, but cash heavily on the Texas Tech side, Thor. How do you see this one going for your Jayhawks?
Yeah, my line is Kansas minus 2.9. So we're around there. Texas Tech, they're a little sneaky here because last week they get back Baron Morton, and Baron Morton looked pretty good. People remember Tyler Shuck, Mr. Glass, as I call him, began the year, once again gets knocked out for the season. Then Baron Morton, the backup, had come in. Baron Morton, a guy that Texas Tech really likes, but Baron Morton was banged up. When especially at the latter part, when he was playing whatever, finally Baron Morton gets knocked out. And then the guy that we had seen then, the freshman, this Jake Strong kid, absolutely wasn't playable. So then Texas Tech just wasn't viable at all. Well, now you get Baron Morton back looking as healthy as he's looked all season. He looks more like the Baron Morton that flashed 2022, where you got excited about them. So Texas Tech, I think their offense is getting frisky again, and they can do a couple different things on defense too. Kansas challenges you so much with the pre-snap motion, the subterfuge they use at the play action. Where's the ball? It's like hide the cup. Their offense, the defense, like, where is it? And different stuff like that. You're always putting the defenders in conflict. And then they have some speed as well there, out there on the perimeter, trying to get the ball into space. This is not, for me right now, my lean would probably be to Kansas, but I don't see much value with where this line is right now, particularly with Morton having come back.
Farrell, do you have a stronger feel one way or the other in this game?
I don't know why all the money's in Texas Tech. I'm not really sure. I get Morton's back, and he looked good last week. They beat TCU. They've been kind of a disappointing football team this season, and I'm a big, Joey McGuire guy, and I think he's a very good coach. But, they've had some injury issues. They have played down to opponents. Kansas, we're waiting for a letdown. I was waiting for it last week against Iowa State. They come out and win. I mean, so maybe this is letdown money again. It's like, oh my gosh, they beat Oklahoma, and then they beat Iowa State. There's got to be a letdown coming because they're Kansas. There doesn't have to be one. I mean, he's a really good coach. He's a great schemer, terrific game plan guy, and also tremendous adjustments. Michigan Thor better hope Michigan keeps Harbaugh, and Harbaugh doesn't go to the NFL because they're going to go after Lance. Immediately. But they're going to go after they're going to go after Whittingham, and they're going to go after Barr. So maybe it's not him, but I like both of these coaches. I think they're both smart guys. 3.5 is a horrible line, but I'm still leaning towards Kansas to cover here. If you can get it at 3, great, because then you might get a push. Somehow 2.5, I don't think that's going to be possible. But I'll lay the points 3.5 and take Kansas.
All right, let's go to the next game here. Number 4, Florida State hosting Miami. Florida State is a 14.5 point home favorite. 50.5 is the total. Tickets on FSU, cash on Miami. So the public is split. Not enough bets on the total here to get any information there, Farrell. But how do you see this game playing out, part of the Florida Cup here?
I like the over. 50.5 seems a little bit low. I mean, Miami stinks. I mean, obviously we had the Georgia Tech game and then the UNC game, and then they came back and beat Clemson, but Clemson's gettable this year, and NC State handled them. Mario Cristobal is extremely stubborn. Tyler Van Dyke's got 5 touchdowns, 10 picks his last 4 games, I believe it is. Still won't bench him. Sticking with him. He's my leader. Blah blah blah. Everybody's calling for Emory Williams to play. He's probably gonna get in this game, but everybody, Dawson, Cristobal, they doubled down and we don't like a quick hook. Well, guess where we are? I mean, we're double digits into the season when it comes to weeks. It's time to hook them, and they're not going to. I don't like that line at all, though. So I'm leaning over. Like Florida State disappointed me a few different times. Come out a little lackluster. Pitt, I mean, come on, Pitt stinks, and they came out lackluster against them. Boston
It really
College,
did.
I just don't see it. So I'm not laying 14.5. I like the over in this one.
Yeah, Thor, Florida State not playing their best football right now. They're a very good team, a nationally ranked team. Obviously, number 4. We're going to get the CFP. We're going to get those rankings probably as we're recording this right now, actually. But there's coming out.
I saw something flash.
Yeah.
I just didn't see. Yeah, I didn't see. They're in the top 4. I think they're still 4th.
Yeah, the playoff rankings are coming soon. This is a good team, but they are very inconsistent. We have seen that Johnny Wilson, Keon Coleman, Span, they're all back at practice. So, last week maybe they were a little flat because the wide receivers weren't there. Do you think that they can beat this line 14.5 against Miami?
As long as those receivers are active for Florida State, and I'd probably take one of the two. I would definitely be on Florida State. My number in this one is Florida State minus 15.3. Miami does not look right in any way, shape, or form. I'm not sure what's going on with Tyler Van Dyke. Is he injured? He
stinks.
Is he just bad? According
to
Farrell,
he had that 5-week stretch and was going to be a first-round quarterback and all that.
Yeah.
Man,
I didn't have him in the top 50 of my quarterbacks preseason. Miami fans lit me up, said you're an idiot. He's just regressed. I mean, he's had a multitude of injuries over the last couple of years. But you can't lay it on that. Yeah, I mean, he's played well, so he's regressed, and I don't think the change in offense from Gaddis to Dawson, it hasn't helped him. I just don't think he processes very well. I think he was good early and then just got worse, and that happens.
Yeah, and it does look like it's banged up Tyler Van Dyke, and it's Tyler Van Dyke with no confidence. And it's tough for Miami then, right? Like the running game, we haven't seen that helping them out a ton here in recent weeks. And last week, I mean, I don't know another way to put it. Tyler Van Dyke probably shouldn't have been playing. He wasn't effective at all. He was the inverse of effective. This game, you go on, that was a game Miami lost 20-6 to NC State. By the way, the week before that, Miami hosts Virginia. They win by a field goal. It's been a tough time for Miami. For Miami, you have to go back to October 7th was the last time that Miami had a a game with a win expectancy over 44%. The interesting thing about that October 7th game, that's when they lost to Georgia Tech on the game where Mario Cristobal just gave the game to Georgia Tech. So there's all sorts of weird vibes on the Miami side. The Florida State, the only question I really have is the health of those perimeter guys, because you can load up the box against Benson, against the Travis running around if those guys are out. But outside of that, for me, it's Florida State or pass in this one.
All right, let's go over to what I expect to be a really fun game to watch. Tennessee, number 17, a 1-point road favorite at number 12, Missouri. 58.5 is the total here. Once again, another game that is split. The tickets are on Mizzou. The cash is slightly on the Tennessee side. Both sides like the over. That's what I really like in this game, with a couple of nice offenses. Jabari Small is questionable for this game. How do you see this one going, Thor?
My line in this game is Tennessee minus 1.7. Missouri they return home after losing the game last week by 9 points to Georgia. How is Missouri? What is their disposition going to be here coming off that one? Because there's some people around that program felt, we pull this, what other people outside the program would see as a monumental upset, but people inside the program thought that they could win that game. So now you sort of have to pick yourself up off the mat and confront this Volunteer team. Certainly, Missouri, they have the horses to beat this Tennessee team, particularly at home. But you're going to have to stave off sort of that emotional sort of letdown after you lost that game. You take your second loss of the season. Tennessee previously already took their second loss of the season. Tennessee, they're the team, the SEC team who got to play the crap, the non-SEC opponent last week, the quasi by 59-3 against UConn. So they ought to come in fairly fresh. The starters were starting to get out there in the second half. Whereas again, Missouri, they were getting dragged into deep waters by Georgia. This one is one where I have not yet bet it this week, but I think I would lean Missouri if I had to bet this one. And the reason why I don't trust Joe Milton as far as I can throw him, and the part of the Tennessee defense that I like more, it's their run defense. Whereas, Georgia last week, Georgia has a top, whether you want to say 1, 2, or 3 pass defense qualitatively in the nation. That's what they were able to confront Missouri's elite passing offense with. Tennessee has a solid pass defense, but not the same sort of trump card to meet Missouri's trump card. I would lean Missouri's way, but I'm still reading the local beat writers, the comments coming out of Missouri, trying to play a little pop psychologist before I put my money behind the Tigers this week.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if they come out flat after playing a close game to Georgia. That's obviously disappointing. Or if they come out and say, hey, we almost beat Georgia. We could beat anybody. So, Farrell, how do you see this game going between Missouri and Tennessee?
Yeah, this speaks to me of, do we believe in Missouri still? We're still asking that question. I mean, they lost the game against LSU late in the shootout. Obviously, gave Georgia a test, didn't beat them, but who has beaten Georgia over the last, 3 seasons? Nobody. But do we believe Missouri? That's what's being asked here, because Tennessee, essentially, I don't believe should be favored on the road against a Missouri team that's beaten better teams. Tennessee hasn't beaten anybody, really. Texas A&M, who cares? South Carolina, who cares? They got drilled by. Yeah, and they got drilled by Florida, and Florida stinks. So I don't know. I think Tennessee's propped up a little bit here. Now, do I believe in Missouri? I don't know. I don't know if they're real. That's the problem. I mean, when you get a team like Tennessee, who came up a 10-win season last year, and obviously Joe Milton got hurt not Joe Milton, Hendon Hookie got hurt at the end of last year, and the finish wasn't as great as they wanted it to be. The season was amazing. They're an established commodity, and now this season they're an established commodity with 2 losses. Missouri's not. We were all expecting, honestly, Missouri to be average and for Drinkwitz to be on the hot seat a little bit this season, and he's not. So this speaks to me, do I believe in them? And I'm going to say I do. I would take Missouri getting a point at home. I do lean over as well. Small not being there, though, that's a big deal for Tennessee. I mean, they get that 1-2 punch at running back. I mean, he's a very overlooked with Jalen Wright, but he's a key to that. Because if you don't have that running game, guess who has to throw the ball? Mr. Joe Milton, who can look great, and then the next pass will go flying into the stands or at somebody's feet or hit him on the helmet. I don't trust him. So Small is one to wait on. If he's going to be out, I would definitely lean towards Missouri even more.
Before we go to the next game, I want to remind all of you to download the free Betting Pros app for iOS and Android. Use Sportsbook Sync to automatically track your bets across all major sportsbooks in one spot. Easily track your bet performance by sport and bet type, including game picks, props, and parlays. Get personalized bet recommendations tailored to your interests, including line alerts when viewing a game of interest. Simply set a game notification so that you are alerted once a line hits a certain number. At that point, you will be notified so you can lock in your bet at the ideal line. Head over to bettingpros.com/apps to start setting your line alerts now, or download the Betting Pros app in the iTunes or Google Play stores today. All right, Mike, number 18, Utah at number 5, Washington. Washington is a 8.5-point home favorite. 55 is the total here. Another split game. Tickets on Washington, cash on Utah, both slightly. Both sides leaning the under here. I think I would as well, with the Utah defense being involved here. How do you see this game being played out?
This is tough. I mean, Utah got drilled by Oregon at home, which was completely unexpected to me. Yeah, of course, they came back the next week and destroyed Arizona State, but they're a different football team on the road. The big question here isn't whether Washington's going to win this game, because I think they will. It's, are they going to win this game by 9? And I'm not really sure about that. This is not a play for me right now. If I were leaning one way, I would probably say Utah to keep it within 8.5, because Whitting is an amazing coach. They have a good defense. I think they could perhaps limit. A lot of people have seen what you need to do to slow down Washington. That they saw it over the last few weeks. Alex Grinch is not one of them. He didn't watch the film, but Utah is going to be smart enough to try to keep everything in front of them. At least try to keep this in a low-scoring game. The under is in play here too. I would lean there too. The problem is Washington's so explosive. What if they go for 40? Your under's dead. So lean towards Utah covering the 8.5, but Washington's going to win the game.
Yeah, the last time I picked Washington to go under, it was against Cal, and it went over before halftime, I think, or like 2 minutes into the third quarter, something ridiculous. They just put up so many points. Thor, is this game? Do you like a side? Do you like the total? Is there anything to like about this game, or is this a sit back and watch it? Because I don't know.
Yeah, Farrell summed it up well when he said this is a tough line. Bogman, it's 9 or 9.5 in the market right now.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
No, you tell me what was that?
I had it at 8.5.
Oh, 8.5. Okay. So mine, I saw it at, this must've been earlier in the day, was at 9. My line is Washington minus 9.1. So, I mean, we're pretty close to the margins here. And obviously that's not over a key number. So the market's sort of, pushing this thing around,
Looks like it's gone to 9.5. I'm looking at live on Betting Pros. MGM, DraftKings, FanDuel. Yeah, everybody's got it at 9.5 for Washington.
9.5. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. My lean here would be on Utah. And the reason why is I've gotten proof of concept of Utah on the road against a team that can play good offense with their win against USC earlier in the season. There have been some questions about that. Obviously, Utah plays way up at home. This one, they got to go on the road. You're sort of wondering about that. But the other thing is, I don't want to say there's something off with Washington, but like this is a team that we just expect to, beat teams by margin or pull away or like whatever. And this past month plus, we just don't see that extra gear from them. They keep playing with fire. And one of these games, they're gonna get burned. It's so you go back. It has been since the last time Washington beat a team by more than 10 points was September 23rd against Cal. This past weekend they got to the 10-point win against USC. Every other win in that span was in single digits. And USC at the end had a shot. I know there was a lot of people out there with tickets, with bated breath when Washington was up 10. USC gets the ball back at the end and they're driving. All the sports bettors out there, everyone else, they didn't care. They turned the game to something else. All the sports bettors, that was the game was happening. That was the game-winning drive to the sports bettors, whatever. USC obviously doesn't score, and so Washington ends up winning by 10. They get the cover in that game, but you're gonna have to win by the same margin in order to cover this number. It's been way too long, and Utah is so good. And again, I got that proof of concept with Utah on the road against a team that can play offense. I'm backing Utah in this game.
All right, let's go to number 10, Ole Miss at number 2, Georgia, the game of the week here. Georgia, a 10.5-point home favorite, 59 is the total. Another game that is split so far. Tickets on Ole Miss, cash on Georgia, both sides on the under here, Thor. How do you see this one playing out? This is a tough one to pick. Can you pick against Georgia?
I can. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna take the points with it being over 10. My line in this game is Georgia minus 9.7. Lane Kiffin can do some stuff to try to discombobulate that really good Georgia defense. We talked this fall about how Georgia is a bit down, and Lane Kiffin, again, we're talking relatively speaking,
yeah,
and
compared
stuff like
to
that.
Their last team that was dominant, won the national championship. Yes,
that's exactly right. You look at SP plus right now, Georgia's offense 6th SP plus, defense 5th SP plus, which great. I mean, almost any team in the nation would take that. It's just for Georgia the last couple of years, a little bit down. And then in this game, Ole Miss happens to be able to catch them when Georgia does not have Brock Bowers. I think that makes Ole Miss potentially viable. Earlier this year, Ole Miss was banged up. And I think some people soured on them. Some bettors out there got burned by Ole Miss during that period, soured on them a bit. And maybe they're not catching on to how well Ole Miss has been playing recently. Georgia better take Ole Miss seriously on Saturday. I'm going to take the points here, getting the double digits.
Farrell, do you like Georgia? You like Ole Miss?
No, I like Georgia. And the reason I like Georgia is Lane Kiffin in big games I don't trust at all. I think he's a good coach. I think he is a good offensive mind, but I just don't trust him when it comes to big games. I know they beat LSU. That was a shootout, but LSU's defense is horrendous. Georgia's defense is certainly not that. They struggled against Arkansas. They struggled against Auburn. They struggled against Texas A&M. They won those games. But Alabama, big game. SEC West path at the time, potential, laid an egg. He does that. He did it at the end of this last season too, down the stretch. I don't trust him. I like him, but I don't trust him. I do trust Kirby Smart, and I trust this Georgia football team. I know they're going to come out. I know they're going to play how they're expected to play, and I think they're going to win this game. 10.5's a lot. I get it, but I'm still going to lay those points and take Georgia.
All right, let's go to number 7, Texas, a 10-point road favorite at TCU. 53 is the total here. By the way, all the rest of these games are split on the side between the cash and the tickets. Tickets towards TCU, cash towards Texas. Farrell, can my Longhorns beat this 10-point spread at TCU? This is a game that they love to lose.
Yeah, they do. But this is a TCU team that's not going to be able to hang with them personnel-wise. The defense of Texas is extremely good. The pressure they get on quarterbacks really changes football games. TCU doesn't have a quarterback. Quinn Ewers, is he going to play? That's a big question. At laying 10, you assume he's going to play. That's a pretty high number, I think. Malik Murphy has not looked good. They're not going to pull the trigger on Arch Manning because he's extremely overrated. Now, what it is he's not ready. I won't say extremely overrated yet, but he's just not ready. He's not ready for this. I know. But he's not ready. Obviously, if he was ready, he would have been in there in the last couple of games. And, Malik Murphy is not showing anybody anything that leads you to believe that he's the guy. So that's good news for Texas fans next year because the job's wide open and Arch would probably win the job next year. Not that it's good news for Texas fans, because if Texas fans would love to see Malik Murphy be amazing, but he's just not. That being said, the roster personnel here is just too strong in Texas's favor, whoever the quarterback is. The defense is going to eat up TCU. I don't trust TCU whatsoever, and it's not still hurt feelings from the Colorado game. They just haven't played steady all season long. I just don't think they're going to be able to hang in this game, despite the fact that this is kind of a big line for me. But Texas laying 10.
Thor, what do you think between Texas and TCU? Like I said, this is a game I hope, Texas rolls everybody on the way out of the Big 12, but I don't know. It seems that like they trip over one of these opponents every single year. Is this the one?
It's going to come down to Quinn Ewers. You guys were talking about it. My line in this game is Texas minus 8.9. If Quinn Ewers, if Malik Murphy's playing this game, so Quinn Ewers is out, I definitely want double-digit points with TCU at home. I think TCU is live. If Malik Murphy's playing, if Quinn Ewers is playing and he is even 90% or 88% Quinn Ewers, that's where I think it becomes potentially viable to lay if it's 10 with that. And going to the Quinn Ewers injury watch, because this, I'm like Brian Fontana, Panda Watch and Anchorman.
Panda Watch.
Because anyone that bets on this game, you need to feel good about your read on whether whatever side you're going to be on. Because Quinn Ewers worth so much to the spread. Now, we've seen Malik Murphy's work. Steve Sarkisian said on Monday that Ewers is day-to-day. He has been throwing the ball early in the week, and he had the AC joint sprain in his right shoulder October 21st against Houston. So we're now, 2.5 to 3 weeks now out from that injury. Typically, that's when you can start to come back from this thing. What the recovery timeline is, up to 4 weeks. So it is, they're depicting it as sort of a coin flip. I believe them. So like I very much up in the air. We're gonna have to follow this thing during game week. He absolutely could play. I think it's just going to come down to literally how he progresses. Like the cliches that you hear from coaches. In this case, I actually think it's true because it's a pain tolerance thing, right? I mean, it's the AC joint of his throwing shoulder is what we're talking about here. The interesting thing, though, because it's going to come down to what's inside Quinn Ewers' body, right? Like the pain thing. A lot of people pointing this out on Monday. Quinn Ewers put out an Instagram post. He put out some song lyrics. This is true. You can go and check Quinn Ewers' Instagram. The song lyrics. So turn me loose, set me free, somewhere in the middle of Montana, and give me all. All the Longhorn fans were rejoicing. Quinn Ewers, some Longhorn fans believe that he is hinting that he will be back this weekend. We'll have to find out.
I saw Hook'em Headlines or one of those places said that he's trending in the right direction. So that's kind of, how I feel about it. He's trending in the right direction. Doesn't mean he's going to play, but it does mean he's getting better. So I guess it's kind of a we'll see holding pattern right now. He is obviously the big difference, but
who has TCU beaten to even scare you?
Yeah, nobody. But Texas in the past, when Texas is good and TCU is bad, it's happened before.
I get it. So Texasing, you're Texasing like Clemsoning years ago, but. Can't be afraid of that. You can't be afraid of that. This roster is different. It's a different roster, man. I mean, the Tom Herman rosters were solid, but they had weaknesses. Charlie Strong's rosters weren't that solid. They had weaknesses. This is a really, really good roster. So that being said, I took Kansas State to cover last week, and I thought I was in big trouble because it turned out to be 3.5, so I got the cover. I think they're going to take care of this game. So I don't know. Quinn Ewers will play too, probably, is my guess.
Yeah, on paper it looks good. So we'll see. Anything else for this game, Thor?
For Texas TCU. Well, I Ewers the super duper important one. Because Murphy, I like the tool set, but Murphy obviously needs work. And so for some other school, some fan base, unwitting fan base out there doesn't realize that they're going to, be the ones that get to find out with Malik Murphy if he ultimately realizes that, because I don't think he's going to finish out his career at Texas with, it's Quinn Ewers going to come back, and then of course Arch. So he's going to go to Kansas when Jalen Daniels leaves. The only other thing I would say about the TCU Texas game is Sarkisian was talking after that game and then early this week, both vis-a-vis Quinn Ewers, but just in general about it's beyond Quinn Ewers. We're banged up right now. So you have to downgrade Texas just the slightest amount because of some of the other injuries they have. Quinn Ewers is the one where that one affects the spread, but they have some other cumulative ones at other positions that you do have to note. Texas is not at full strength right now. And the TCU's out Chandler Morris. I'm not convinced that Hoover, my boy, Josh Hoover, the back, that he's not worse than Chandler Morris.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Texas injuries actually affect that team quality, whereas TCU, this could be an opportunity for them, but Quinn Ewers has to be out to give TCU a shot.
All right, let's go over to Florida at number 14, LSU, Thor. LSU is a 13.5-point home favorite. 63.5 is the total. Once again, look, the tickets and money are both heavy on the over, but tickets on Florida, cash on LSU. Another split game here. Thor, how do you see LSU and Florida happening here?
We've made a lot of money on the LSU overs this year. Anyone that bought an LSU over ticket at any time could say the same, seeing as though they're now 9 for 9 in cashing the overs. This is the one where that gets challenged, that streak, because I don't believe that we're going to see Jaden Daniels.
Concussion. So Proto. He's got to pass Proto. Yeah,
he's in the protocol. I got in a text earlier today that he is extremely doubtful for this game. I think it's going to be Nussmeier. And if you're LSU, of course he's got to get through the protocol. But also, even if he were to get out of there, but I was going to say if he wasn't 100%, but generally they're not going to let you out of concussion protocol anyway. But the whole point being was you can potentially justify if you're LSU trying to get through this one game with Nussmeier playing at home against Florida, because, for the end of the season, the sort of the stretch run there, the last couple games leading up to the postseason, having Jaden Daniels there healthy. Jaden Daniels, a guy who is, potentially looking towards the NFL, something that we thought was unthinkable earlier in his career, but has been playing really well. You don't want to throw him out there if he's not 100%. I don't think he'll be playing in this game. You saw the downgrade with the LSU offense when Daniels went down against Alabama. That was basically the moment that LSU no longer had a shot to win that game. Yeah. Right. I mean, you're going to have to downgrade LSU because of that. And because of that, I would probably lean at this point with where this spread is. I would, and I hate to say it because I don't bet on Sunbelt Billy a ton, but when I do, I prefer to do it against a team that's starting Garrett Nussmeier at quarterback. I'll take the points with the road team here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the numbers are in college football because they don't have to report injuries and sometimes they're floating. But I know that since concussion protocol has been installed in the NFL, that only twice has a QB got a concussion on Sunday and made it to play the following week. That was Pickett last year 1 week and earlier this season when Brock Purdy did it. So
wait, Mike McDaniels wasn't involved in either of those?
No Tua's. No, when he went out, he went out for a little bit.
Okay.
But Mike, so it doesn't look like Daniels will be up in this game. Can we trust LSU at all without him? It's hard.
Yeah, I'm not touching this at all. Because Jaden Daniels with LSU, you know what you're getting. Well, of course, last week I thought it would come in under. I've learned what you're getting. I mean, he was simply unstoppable, and the offense is unstoppable with him in there. When he's not in there, that changes the spread. I mean, 13.5 is a lot when you're not having Jaden Daniels run your offense. Your defense stinks, I get it, but Florida isn't really dynamic offensively. The over, that number is out of the window, but I don't feel comfortable betting an under in an LSU game because they always go over. So I'm not touching this one at all. If I had to pick, I would probably take Florida to cover 13.5 and hope and pray. But man, Florida's in big trouble. I mean, losing to Arkansas last week, they're probably going to lose out. That's 5-7 for Sunbelt Philly. Maybe backdoor into a bowl game because there aren't too many enough bowl eligible teams. Then you could be 6-7 would be due, or 5-8. And then next year's schedule is just ridiculous, including your Longhorns. Billy's dead. So betting Sunbelt Billy is not going to make through 2024 is very difficult for me. But if I had to pick, I would pick Florida to cover the 13.5. But I'm not betting this game. Jaden Daniels is the X factor. If he plays, I know what's happening. If he doesn't play, I don't know what's going to happen.
All right, let's go to the last game on the slate. Number 20, USC at number 6, Oregon, 14.5. Oregon is a favorite here at home. 73.5 is the total here. Obviously, going to see a lot of scoring between Oregon and USC in this game. Again, tickets slightly favor USC. Cash slightly favors Oregon. Everybody's on the over. I know Marshawn Lloyd is questionable in this game for USC at running back. Mike, do you see Oregon covering at home? How about the total? I mean, they're both pretty big here.
I go over. I don't like this line. I mean, I think Oregon's going to drill them, honestly. I don't think, the defensive struggles are certainly Alex Grinch, but they're not overly schematic. There's just confusion. Yeah, and there's confusion just every time you watch USC as to who's doing what assignment, what lane is being filled. That's bad coaching. I get it. And that's not going to be fixed overnight by firing a guy and putting someone else in charge. Just not going to happen. So their defense is still going to stink. Taylor Mays, I think, is, former 5-star recruit, All-American, great kid, but not going to be able to fix this. And Oregon's offense is unstoppable, just unstoppable. So when you look at this, Oregon's going to put up a big number, and then USC, if Caleb Williams is invested, and I think he's still invested, he can do some magical things and put up some numbers here. So give me the over here. I don't like the 14.5 though. That's 2 touchdowns and a hook. Too much for me. I'll take the over.
All right, Thor, last game. Who do you like? Do you like Oregon at home, or is that too many points for you? Or do you like the over here? Or is there anything you like in this game?
I'm with Mr. Farrell on this one. I like the over in this game. I think is the surest bet at this point. My system spit out a total on this game of 86.8. And so you're thinking, well, that's absurd. I mean, that's just a ludicrous number. Your system is broken. Well, last week, and I mentioned this on the shows, you can go back and rewind the thing. My system spit out before adjustments a total. So this was right away at the start of the week. Washington USC total last week of 89. That game finished 52-42, 94 at halftime. The books put out a total on that game of 105. Yeah.
Yep.
It was absolutely wild. So if you're thinking like there's no chance, like this total's high and the number that you just tossed out is stupid. I don't know. My system was seeing it last week. It's seeing it again this week. And that's where I would be on this one. If I had to bet on, the one of the teams on the side, I would lean towards taking the points with USC. There's the thing in sports betting in college where it's a little bit contradictory, but the week after a team fires its head coach in college, you go back a decade, you look at the against the spread record, the following week and the following couple weeks, that team is really good against the spread. There was a lot of sort of toxicity.
We saw with the Raiders in the NFL too. I mean, yeah, there you go. It's a lot of addition by subtraction. You get happier players.
Yeah, everybody gets a lift. They play.
That's it.
Finally, they got. The problem is Lincoln Riley's still the head coach.
For sure. But there was so much toxicity towards Alex Grinch and he's the squeaky wheel and all this stuff. Farrell, you mentioned it. That had to happen. How many straight weeks did we mention? When are they going to fire this guy? When are they going to It was like, just get over it already.
Joke about how Alex Grinch had some blackmail material on Lincoln Riley.
There's no doubt.
Everybody was
blackmail
making
material on Lincoln Riley.
Yeah. So, I'm not sure, does the new guy, is he going to watch the tape? Is it, I don't know if it's going to be, next level schematic. Alex Grinch wasn't doing a great job, but even him just not being there, I think you get a bit of a boost there. And it's like, well, that's stupid. That's not quantifiable. Actually, it is. If again, it's using the head coaching thing, but Grinch, that had become a thing. He was an important part of that program. It had become in a very negative way recently. That would just be the way that I would lean on the side. I'm not betting that one yet, but totally agree with Farrell on the actual play I'm going to have in this game for sure, which is the over. I feel like that is way, way safer.
All right. Well, before we get out of here, Thor, do you have any other games we didn't mention that you really like, either the side or the total on?
I think we hit on a lot of the ones.
We hit on mine. I know that. Thor's going to come up with some garbage Sun Belt matchup between 1-7 football teams. You watch.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Come back on the Saturday morning show, and I'll have a bunch of them.
Farrell, nothing extra for you?
Yeah, we're taping during action. I took the under in Ball State. Hammered the under. 10 mile-an-hour winds. Maction on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to get off this call and probably look at the score. It's going to be like 30-20 at the half or something like that. But I hammered the under on that. But yeah, no, I mean the games that you hit, all of the good games that really matter.
All right. Well, like these guys said, check them out on Saturday on the Betting Pros preview show before the games kick off. And remember, you can follow us all on Twitter at Bogman Sports for myself, at Thor KU for Thor, and at M Farrell Sports, 2 R's, 2 L's for Mr. Mike Farrell. That is it for us. We will see you guys next week. Good luck, and we will see you then. Take it easy, everybody.